This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm delighted joined by Matchroom Boxing's Frank Smith. The morning after, the night before, we saw Canelo become undisputed champion at 168. Frank, firstly, how are you?
I'm good, mate. All right, to be honest, I felt a bit better. Had a good night out last night, but no, feeling good. What a great night, and great to be here in Vegas.
We'll come on to the stories of last night after the fight, but let's obviously go straight back into Canelo's victory to become undisputed champion. A stunning end to the fight, Frank. What did you make of it, though? What did you make of the contest?
Yeah, brilliant. Look, Canelo, time and time again, just shows he's unrivalled in this sport. You know, he's pound for pound #1. Gone in there, undisputed super middleweight champion of the world. I was looking at like the list of his belts last night. I can't remember. I'm not going to try and remember how many it was, but it's insane to see what he's done in his career. And you know, I think he 31 years old, yeah. And to see what he's done is just mad. You know, Caleb Plant, respect to him, but Canelo just showed levels last night, and what a finish as well. And every time he just seems to find a way. You know, always finds a way just to, you know, really get him out of there.
What did you make of the fight up until the point of the stoppage? I've seen people over social media suggest it was kind of nip and tuck and it was close, but I wasn't close to the ring. I was in the stand, so from what I saw, I thought Canelo looked pretty comfortable. So I just wanted to get your take.
Yeah, I was following it a bit on social media, and some people had like Plant, like I saw it like after 7 rounds, people like 5-2 to Plant, which I didn't necessarily agree with. I thought Canelo was comfortable all the way through. And I think you know he goes in there, and like I say, as the fight goes on, he just gets more and more brutal every time, and every punch is so vicious that he throws. So yeah, I can't say I agreed necessarily with all the scoring on social media, but again, opinions. That's what boxing's great for. But yeah, a huge night and a huge win for him.
One thing that was visibly clear from Canelo's game plan was his body work. He was hammering the shots into Canelo's body from the first round. How key do you think that was effectively into playing into Canelo's plan of eventually breaking him down and stopping him in the 11th?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you could see where we were sitting, like how red Caleb's body was, you know, and he was catching him every time there. And, you know, I'm not going to go into details of his game plan because that's not my expertise, but he was, yeah, he definitely, you know, like I say, time and time again, he just seems to get in and take away all of the opponent's abilities, I think. And as the fight goes on, just gets better and better. So it was a great spectacle and great atmosphere in there as well last night.
Do you see that as his best performance at super middleweight?
Yeah, probably. I mean, to see what he's done in, I think it's 11 months, isn't it? So started off with Callum Smith, who he fought on our show, then Avni Yildirim for, you know, defending the WBC, and then Billy Joe Saunders in May, and then tonight. You know, he's just unrivalled. You know, going in there against the best. And 4 fights in 11 months. Nobody does that. But yeah, I definitely think that was a great performance from him last night, and you know, he just seems to be constantly improving.
Knowing you guys played a key role in getting him to the position of last night, was it a little bit bitter, shall we say, that you couldn't have got this fight onto the zone on a Matchroom show?
Look, obviously, we would have loved to have promoted the show, but ultimately for us, it was great to be there. You know, we were there like as fans. And it was great to sit there and watch and scream for him, you know, because you know it's been a great. Although it's been a short time, this journey of, you know, we worked with him for 9 months for those 3 fights, but obviously we had opponents against him in his last, I think 2 or 3 of his fights prior to that. So you know, it was a shame that it wasn't a Matchroom show, but ultimately the key was he went in there and became undisputed super middleweight champion of the world, and that's all that matters. And you know, it was a brilliant night, and hopefully from here we can go on and keep working together.
At the press conference after the fight, a few people kind of raised the question: where does Canelo now rank in the history of the sport in terms of past fighters? Where would you put him now?
He's definitely, you know, he's up there amongst the names we talk about. I think though it's only after someone retires do they get that recognition. It's only in 20, 30 years, people go, that Canelo, you know, like we talk about the great names of the past, will then he really be, like, in my opinion, he is already, but when people look back, that's when he'll really get the true recognition.
True recognition on a wider scale, but on a slightly smaller one, but still of a great note. People now see him as the best ever Mexican fighter. Do you think that's safe to say, or?
Yeah, I think so. You know, he's was it 60 fights now? Like I say, the number of titles he's gone in there and won time and time again across 4 weight divisions. You know, like I said, it's unrivaled really what he's done, and he deserves that position.
The after party, Frank. How was that?
I didn't go to an after party. I was in bed by 11, mate. I don't know what you're talking about.
I was going to say some photos on social media would disagree with that.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good night. It was good to see him afterwards. He was in a great mood. He's actually just a quality geezer, you know, to be around. He's a good laugh, and you know, he was really happy, as you can imagine, and good to be around the team as well. You know, there's a lot of people who worked very hard all throughout his career and been involved since day one, who were there enjoying the night, and yeah, brilliant night out.
Who paid for the drinks?
I don't know. To be honest, I scarpered at about 2 a.m. So
you did a runner without paying for your bill.
Yeah, I definitely didn't. I definitely didn't pay the bill. So whoever did pay the bill, thank you.
What is Canelo like just away from boxing? It's always been something I'm interested by. You mentioned he's a cool and a funny guy there. So what's he like personally?
Do you know what? I think he's brilliant. He's one of those people. You know what I like about him? He's very humble, and he. Say you're in a room with 10 people, he doesn't pick the most important person in the room. He'll have a conversation with everyone, he'll bring everyone into it. And I quite like that, you know, and ultimately he's built himself up, you know, to where he is today. And he's still the same. Well, I didn't know him, obviously, when he was a kid, but, you know, he's a nice guy to be around. Like I say, I haven't known him that long, but, you know, the time I have spent around him has been great. And he's just quality bloke.
Frank, obviously you've got to look towards the future now and what's next for Canelo. He has said he wants to take some time off, doesn't want to return till May, which obviously happens to be Cinco de Mayo. You'd imagine he'd want to fight that weekend. But is there going to be a plan now? Will you look to try and get talks underway to if maybe secure a fight against one of your guys, or maybe a multiple deal fight? Deal.
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, he deserves that time off now. You know, like we say, he's had 4 fights in 11 months against, and not easy fights either. You know. He deserves to have a bit of a break now, and you know, I think they said in the press conference going to decide what he's doing in January. You know, we've been talking for a long time about a load of different fights. You know, it's been out there before. We were talking about the Bivol fight previously. You know, he's obviously got an aim to go up to 175 and win more titles there. You know, could it be a Golovkin rematch, which would be massive? Could he come to the UK and fight John Ryder? You know, another one could be, I don't know, Eubank Jr. You know, there's a lot of opportunities there for him. So, you know, ultimately we're going to work very hard to try and get him back on the DAZN platform, get him back with Matchroom. So there's a number of options there. But, you know, I think in the short term he's going to take that rest and then, you know, be back. You know, we'll get him back up and running in 2022. Comes around quickly, doesn't it?
Does indeed. How difficult of a proposition is it, though, to secure Canelo just for one fight on the Matchroom or on the DAZN platform, knowing the demand he has, the superstar face he has across boxing now? How difficult is it to secure that? Because I saw Eddie Reynoso's comments just before the fight where he mentioned Artur Beterbiev, Dmitry Bivol, Charlo, and one other which is slipping my mind. David Benavidez, that's the one, yeah, as the potential 4 names for him to look at next. Bivol's the one currently you work with, so how difficult will it be to try and cement a deal with Canelo next?
Yeah, look, ultimately he's going to do what's best for his career, and you know, fair enough, he deserves that. But I think for us, we've had a great relationship with him. You know, we delivered those 3 fights. And you know, hopefully we can come up with something that's attractive to him, a proposition that makes sense for him. Like I say, at the end of the day, he's going to pick what makes sense. You know, makes the most sense for Canelo, and he deserves that. You know, but we'll work very hard to try and put things in play that make sense. And there's some big fights out there, and you know, big nights to be had still.
Just on Dmitry Bivol, John Ryder, I've heard that talks are obviously in place there. Has anything progressed at all?
Not yet. We're just working through with Bivol at the minute what the plans are. Hopefully have an update on him very soon.
I mean, just away from that, Conor Benn, his opponent was officially announced today, Chris Algieri. Why Chris Algieri?
I think it's a good fight. It's a good name for him. You know, he's been in there. He's got a lot of experience. You know, I think people forget, like, Conor, he's still developing and growing as a fighter. And you know, I think it's going to be a good test for him. You know, I think it's gone down quite well, relatively well online, and he's a big name. You know, he's been in there with some of the best, Chris Algieri. So I think he's going to bring something new that Conor hasn't experienced, and you know, another big win, and then a step on from here.
I know you've just said it's gone down well online, Frank, but
Do you not think so?
from what I've saw, it's not had the best reaction.
Depends who you follow, really.
Well, I follow obviously boxing people, so unfortunately that was obviously like, the argument is that Chris hasn't been active over the last couple of years. I know he fought recently, but his best weight was not at upper welterweight; it was more so super light or below that. So what challenges will he pose to Conor Ben, that young, hungry guy coming through who is very much looking upwards?
I think he's got a lot of experience. You know, ultimately, Conor's sort of, you know, he's built up in the last few fights. Obviously, had the Formella win, and came through that. You know, I think this is a good test for him. You know, people I'm sure will question it, but I do think the experience is important, and to go in there with someone who's been in against the best is what he needs before he takes that next step up. Because there's such a gulf, isn't there, in class between going to where he wants to go. You know, he wants to move very quickly, but I personally think it's a great fight for him. You know, people will have their opinion and maybe not agree, but you know, I think it's a good learning fight and good experience fight for him.
But one name that people mention with Conor is obviously that David Avanesian fight. Not even necessarily just a David Avanesian, but how far off do you feel Conor is from somebody like that?
I think he's going to move sort of beyond David Avanesian after this fight. You know, commercially, it's not really a fight that I don't think makes sense for him. And you know, I think David Avanesian should be looking at fighting for a world title, and that's something that, you know, his promoter Frank Warren and Neil Marsh I'm sure are looking at trying to make happen.
Well, Frank, we'll leave it there now. I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your time in Las Vegas. Hopefully you go win some more money. I appreciate your time as always, mate. Thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.
Thanks for having me. I'm going to go and have a nap now.